What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Flip the Scripts. I'm your host, Stephen Nieman.
You forgot Adaptations podcast.
I was gonna say it after, but I'll do it again.
I thought we said it at the beginning.
I was fine. I'll do it again. Take two, bitch. Take two. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Flip the Scripts, an adaptation podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Nieman.
And I'm your other host, Ankit and Madhira.
And we're back with the classic Holes.
Woohoo! I think it's
Movie,
a classic.
Holes.
I would consider it a classic.
Starring Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah. And the book is by Louis Sachar.
Sachar, that's what we said. Yeah,
That's, I
Sachar.
think, the correct pronunciation.
Yeah, so welcome back. Where's part 2? If you haven't seen part 1, you might be confused, so go watch part 1. We'll be at the end of the video if you watch it on YouTube. If you listen to us on any format of podcast, it will be in our links.
It'll be the most recent episode.
Yeah. So, we are back with Holes. We were really excited. Part 1 was really fun, and apparently Ankit has a rant for this episode, so I'm really excited to see what that's about. But for now, I'm going to ask Ankit a question, because it's fun question time before we hop back into the adaptation. Who would you like to play in this movie if you were young still?
Oh, okay. So if I was like specifically young, if I was playing one of the kids.
Yeah. I think
Zero.
the kids are more fun to play. You played Zero.
I'd play Zero.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was always the small kid.
Fair.
Like, it works physically. Like, he also, like Stanley, doesn't feel like he should really be there. He's just there.
A lot of the kids should not be there.
Hey, Magnus there because he stole a puppy.
Yeah, but like he was trying to save the puppy. Well, at least that's what he's thinking.
Yeah. He just wanted to give the puppy some love.
I think for me, I would love to play Stanley.
Fair.
But the book version. Because I was a fat kid in middle school. And I'd be like, oh, I can go and then lose all the weight.
Yeah. If I was to play anybody in this movie, I'd want to play probably Mr. Sir in like 40 years. Like, I feel like, or like in like 20 years.
No, because if you're Mr. Sir, I have to be Dr. Pedansky. And that's the only way it'll work. Don't say that.
But like, it would be so fun.
Yeah, I know. All right. So that was our question. That was fun question time. Who would you like to play in this movie? Answer in the comment section down below. Do you have a specific opinion?
Yeah, let us know. Who would you play?
So we're back. So at the start of part 2, they've announced that everyone's gonna go back to digging their original holes because they did not find anything.
Character building.
And the warden is mad.
Yeah, their character building will be improved by going back to digging their own holes.
Now we go back in time. And I'm like, all right, cool. We'll go back in time. Back to kissing Kate Barlow. And she shoot the sheriff and she kiss him.
Yeah. Red lipstick.
In front of prisoners. And I was like, she left him alive. But also, like, she left them in jail with no key. I also feel very bad for those guys. I feel like they're gone.
Yeah, I don't get that one, Kate. Like, if you're gonna be an outlaw, like, throw him a bone, toss him a key.
Yeah, so that happens, and you're like, ooh, now she's gone from Catherine to kissing Kate Barlow.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! They don't call her that yet. That's later in the film, but
yeah, that's who she becomes.
So we see a storm we go back to the boys, and they're all digging, and we see a storm over the mountain. And Mr. Sure is like, the storm will never get past those mountains. And I'm like, wow. So it rains just like over there.
It rains, but like far away.
Now, Ankit and I lived in the UK for months on end. We know what real rain is like.
Dude, I live in Seattle.
Oh yeah, the capital of rain. Yeah.
Yeah. I had to explain to you what wind and trees were a couple months ago. That was a fun time.
I don't remember this.
Dude, I called you and like we had a windstorm and you were like, "Yeah, but why did the wind knock out your power?"
Oh,
And then I was like, "Well, Steven, up in Washington, we have this thing called trees, and they do this thing called they fall down when there's a big enough bomb cyclone."
that's right. That huge windstorm that happened in Seattle that like took out half of the state's
Yeah,
like
the
power.
bomb cyclone that just like rolled through the week before Thanksgiving was like,
Yeah,
"Hello."
I remember that. I remember I called you and then I called my friend Sean, being like, "Do you have power?" And Sean was like, "Yeah, I have power. That's the other side of Seattle."
It's like that's the other side of the mountains. Um,
I just thought it was funny. For context, everyone, my best friend, Ankit is also one of my best friends, but my best friend Sean, who I've known longer than Ankit, also lives up in the Seattle area. And he lives on one side of the Seattle area, and Ankit lives on the other.
yeah.
And they have
Nope.
never met.
Nope.
Yet.
I don't know who this person is, but they seem lovely. Hi, Sean, if you're listening. What's up?
He does actually
Cool.
listen to the podcast
Hello.
sometimes. And he, when he came over for Christmas break, or winter break, we did a whole Lord of the Rings marathon.
Oh,
It was
that's who you
lovely.
did the Lord of the Rings marathon with.
Extended editions.
Yeah.
The only correct way to watch Lord of the Rings.
Of course. Do you want to know?
And don't let anybody ever tell
Do
you
you want to know
otherwise.
what was very fun and very satisfying? This happened a couple
Oh,
years
what?
ago, but we were talking about somehow Lord of the Rings came up at home, and my mom was like, "Ooh, I should watch those movies, but I'm only gonna watch them with you." And my sister was like, "I've seen them too," and she's like, "There are some things that I I trust him more on." And I was like, "Movies?" And she goes, "No, Lord of the Rings."
I really want to play Lego Lord of the Rings with you. I think that would be
Dude,
such
I
a
think it
fun
would be very fun.
journey.
We just got to figure out how we make this happen because I don't think we both own consoles that can make that happen.
Well, ever since they came out, I think it was only in the PS3 and the Wii and that generation. And
Oh
it's
my
never come out
god,
again.
dude. Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, I teach acting, and I was having kids pick out monologues, and one of the kids just randomly goes, "Hey, what's a Wii?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And they were like, "WII."
No
And
way!
I
They
was
didn't
like,
know what a
"Oh
Wii
my
was?
god, how do you not know what a Wii is?" Oh, I felt so old in that moment.
I remember when the Wiis were impossible to
Yeah,
get.
yeah,
And we magically got one at Target. That was our
yeah.
magic day.
Like you could not get them anywhere.
Yeah. So
You're
back to
right.
Hulk. So they see a storm and they're like, it'll never come here. Magnet steals Mr. Sir's sunflower seeds. One thing that's I don't think was mentioned in the movie, but Mr. Sir eats a lot of sunflower seeds because he's quit
No,
smoking.
it is
And
mentioned. It's
his...
mentioned when it's just like a very
Oh,
quick
when the
line
sheriff
when he
when he
drops
drops
off
off.
Stanley.
Yeah. So Mr. Sir's quit smoking, and so he chews sunflower seeds
Mhm.
as his vice. Now, I've never started smoking, so I've never had to quit. But I know it's hard, and I know people need something as a
Right.
replacement.
And all in all, sunflower seeds healthy.
Not the way Mr. Sir was eating
What?
them. Shells and all.
No, the shells can still be nutritious.
Yeah.
But he was
Maybe.
also spitting out the shells. What do you think he was spitting all the time?
It's true. So I don't know. I think too many of anything is bad for you.
Right. Maybe not the amount that he's eating, but at the end of the day,
the sodium enough would probably be a...
Look. The sodium content that he's getting, probably not the best, but it's probably still better than the nicotine content he was getting.
That's true. So Magnet steals the sunflower seeds, and the truck drives away, and all of a sudden it makes an instant U-turn for the seeds.
Incredible.
And everyone freaking out. Everyone's throwing away the seeds, and accidentally it lands in Stanley's hole. Now, this is different within the book. In the book, Mr. Sir takes a little while to come back, so he's not as quick as he turn around as he is in the movie. In the book, everyone's throwing around the seeds, and finally they throw it to Stanley, and Stanley doesn't want it, but he misses the catch, which is how it spills.
Which is the same way of how it spills here, where they toss it to him.
Stanley wasn't paying attention.
Well, they toss it to him. He wasn't fully paying attention, and then he still misses the catch.
Yeah, so then, Mr. Sir shows up. He sees that Stanley took his sunflower seeds, and he's like, "Who did it?" And Stanley's like, "I did. I took your sunflower seeds. I took all of them." And everyone's like, "Why would he take credit?" Everyone doesn't understand why he would take credit. So he takes Stanley to the warden's office. And the warden's like, "What? Oh, Caveman found something." She's all excited, and then she learns that Caveman just stole his sunflower seeds. Warden then gets nail polish that Stanley brings her with, I quote, from the movie and the book, rattlesnake venom, because it makes it nice.
Yeah, it gives it that little extra tingle, sparkle. Ooh la la.
Yeah. She says, "It's fine when it dries, but when it's wet, it's still deadly." And then she slaps Mr. Sir across the face and gouges his face with rattlesnake
I'd just
venom.
like to point out that she painted her left hand.
No, and she slapped him
But
with her right?
I think she slapped him with the other hand because of the way that the slap would have had to happen, because she backhand slaps him, right? And so when you're painting...
Does she?
Because think about it. If you slap like this, where's the rattlesnake venom? For anyone that's listening, audio only, my palm, like imagine the palm of my hand is on my face. Where's the rattlesnake venom? It's on my nails, which isn't touching skin. So it has to be...
She front-handed
no,
him.
but like if she front hands him, the nails don't touch the skin.
Also,
so how does it cut the skin?
Unless she... Well, I thought she clawed him.
It didn't look like she clawed him. If she clawed him, fair, but that would have been more painful for her because she has long nails. So why would you claw him and then hurt your own nail? It would be a backhand slap.
So there might be a miss. We're gonna have to rewatch that scene and see if
I
she
think
slapped with the wrong
she
hand.
did a backhand slap because I went through the same thought process that you did.
Is that what you were complaining?
No. This isn't my rant. This is just something that I noticed.
Okay. I was so hoping this was the rant. Like, this is the one time he's ranting.
Oh, this is a really sad rant. Also, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to hear more about my rants, go check out Post Finale, because I have a lot of opinions on that show, whereas on this one, I'm more trying to just like explain to Steven why the justification needed to be done. It's an interesting dichotomy. Yeah. I kind of take more of Steven's role of complaining about things and not knowing it. Well, I don't know anything over there either. But yeah, I think she's backhands
she slaps him with the wrong hand.
I think she backhands him.
Okay.
With the wrong hand.
So Mr. Sir, obviously, has a whole spasm because he's just been affected by rattlesnake venom in the face, and ow. He doesn't die, mind you. Mr. Sir does not die. So Zero... So he comes back, and everyone's like, "What happened?" He's like, "Nothing." "You didn't say anything?" "No." Like, he was fine. He just came back to do his hole. And Zero had dug his hole for him.
Or, like, in the movie, it looks like he's done the whole hole. In the... whole hole. But in the book, I think he's just done most of it.
Yeah, I think Stanley still
has to do, like, another hour of work, and then he's done.
Yeah. And then Stanley's like, "I can't believe you did that for me." And then he offers to teach him how to read. So now we're back at Stanley being like, "Yeah, I'll teach you how to read." Then we cut back to the mess hall. This is a scene only in the film. Mr. Sir's on a rampage.
It's incredible.
He's yelling at everyone, throwing things. Mr. Sir is a
sensitive
person.
Yes, Podansky. Let's go, Mom.
Also, Mr. Sir stopped giving Stanley water. So that's just like in the book, though. And then Stanley and Zero are sitting around. Zero is now doing his holes for him so he can
helping him.
But like helping him do his holes. But then it's weird because then they have a scene later where like Zero's like, "Hey, I'll do your holes for you if you can teach me how to read, so you're not as tired." So I'm like, I'll just
you're flipping the order of events.
No. They did do that
Did
in the
they?
movie because the next scene they teach him how to write Zero, and I feel like they flipped it on accident in the movie.
No, I could have sworn that No, because he doesn't offer to dig any of Stanley's hole until they're writing.
Yeah, but he was helping him dig this hole for some reason, and that's too early.
I
for
didn't
him
think
to
he
dig
was.
holes.
Maybe I just missed it.
Okay, so they're doing something together, and he's like, I think the lipstick thing belonged to Kissing Kate Barlow. Cut to a montage of Kissing
Let's
Kate Barlow.
go.
It's a full montage. It's fun. I mean, it's not in the book. We don't really get a montage of who she is. Kind of in the book, they kind of just say her name, and her name is enough to get us on board with like who she is.
Hey, it was
and
a fun
everything.
montage.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the montage.
yeah,
And
sure.
also, it wasn't like it was a montage that went on for too long. The montage was like 30 seconds.
So then we cut to Stanley teaching Zero how to read, and Zero, he's like, this is how you write Zero. And Zero's like, oh, look, I'll can dig so you're not as tired when you teach me. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. So they agree to that. We also find Zero's name is Hector Zeroni.
Dun dun dun!
Yes, the same Zeroni from the story of Elliot
Yay!
Yelnats. So there you go. So there is connection. They are connected. There's
destiny involved. One thing
There is
to know
destiny.
that the book points this out. I don't think the movie does.
Mhm.
Elliot Yelnats, as much as he did forget, he does then spend the rest of his life looking for Madame Zeroni's son, who is also in America.
Yes, and that's not in the film at all.
Right. Like, he does actively keep looking for Zeroni. He never succeeds. But,
but that's why I think Sam is related to the... Oh, I didn't tell you this. I think Sam is related to the Zeronis.
Sam?
The onion farmer.
Oh.
So because they ended up in the same spot, and maybe Sam has a child somewhere, and Sam's child is related to, I think Sam is the child of Madame Zeroni.
Okay.
Because they both have that kind of wooju going on, you know what I mean?
Interesting.
And they both find water, and it's the same type of water.
I haven't heard this theory
so I was
before,
like,
but I like it.
I had this thought that maybe they're related. Maybe he is Sam Zeroni.
Look, I like it. There's just one problem.
The fact that he probably lived at the same time as Ellie Yelnats and...
No, that isn't the problem.
All the stuff in the lake. What do you think the problem is?
The kid. He doesn't have a kid.
That's true. And that's what we don't know. Yeah, no, exactly. That was my other thought. I was like, But it would make so much sense if he was.
It would be incredible if he was. I don't think he is.
Yeah. So we find out Zero is Hector, and this is a really great reveal. Everyone now is really mad at Hector. Well, they're mad at Stanley for letting Hector dig.
And it's a really interesting conversation about slavery.
Yeah, they're like, oh, is he your slave?
Yeah, I
Stanley?
love that both in the book and in the movie, they don't shy away from it. Yeah.
So then we learn that Hector's mom is missing. So we learn that one day Hector and Stanley, they lived in the park.
Well, Hector lived in a park.
In the park that Stanley used to go to as a kid. And he's like, wow, I never saw you there. And he's like, yeah, I used to live there. And he told him where he lived. And he's like, one day my mom never came back. And I think Stanley in this moment, in the book and in the film, but I think it's more apparent in the book, Stanley's moment learns how life could always be worse. Because, Stanley up until this moment of the book is always complaining about the curse and is always blaming, his life is always really bad. He's like, everything bad happens to me. But then he hears Zero's story, or Hector's story. I'll call him Hector because I think it's more respectable. He hears Hector's story, and it's like, I think it hits him really hard. It's what we learned in middle school. I think it's part of the moral of the book, really. It's that idea that somebody always has a harder time than you. So yes, you have a right, when something bad happens, yes, you have a right to complain and talk about it, but also, think about others, and people go through a lot. So I think it's just I really enjoyed that moment. I thought that was really well done monologue by the actor.
I think so.
Then we cut back to the boys. They're all digging. Zigzag is really mad that, Zero is helping dig his hole because Zigzag's like, I dig my holes by myself every single day. I could just imagine the internal monologue. So Zigzag starts a fight with Stanley and Podansky is an idiot. He's like, hey, go punch him, caveman. Punch him, Stanley. And it's like, no, that's the wrong thing to say to kids.
But here is the thing, though. Right? And I'll say it two ways. One, I just want to give credit. These bullies, really good bullies.
Oh, yeah.
Incredibly good bullies. But two, you got to keep in mind where they're at. And so
I get it.
Podansky to say hit him, I get it because Podansky's coming from a sense of, they do have to still stand up for themselves, but they got to follow the law and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But Podansky, I think, is a really interesting character, and we haven't really touched on it because Podansky, and you've been portraying him as it sounds like he's a really nice dude. He is incredibly mean to Zero.
Yeah, he is.
Pointedly mean to Zero.
Yeah. So Podansky, then Zero stops the fight. So Zero gets on top of Zigzag, almost chokes him out and kills him, and stops the fight. Then we cut to everyone getting chewed out by the warden. And she's like, why'd the fight happen? And we learned that, Zero's been digging Stanley's holes. And she learned that. She's like, no, Stanley, you need to do your own holes. And, at the same time, Podansky keeps interrupting, trying to get Zero to spell because Stanley says, I've been teaching how to spell. Treating him like garbage. Podansky then gives him a shovel. And he's like, it's time to dig. What does that spell, Zero? And then Zero hits him with the shovel and says, dig! And then runs away. In one of the best moments in the entire film.
Go!
So Hector Zeroni runs away. And Stanley's there like, no, my best friend.
It's not his best friend, it's his only friend.
It's true. Also, Podansky also being very stupid to be like, hey, kid, here's a shovel. I'm making fun of you. I'm going to give you a weapon.
Yeah. Podansky. So not doing the best.
Now, what they don't explain, in the book they explain, but in the film they don't. In the book, he has a broken nose for the rest of the book.
In the film, he just kind of has a little cast on it.
I think two black eyes would have really
sucked. That would have been good. But I do like how on his nose they just have you can tell that he has been hit.
Yeah. Yeah, but two black eyes would have really sold the broken nose because when your nose breaks, your eyes get really.
Do they? I mean,
yeah. So you've ever seen ever seen a nose job?
Steven,
before and
this
after?
is very rhetorical. I've broken my nose 4 times.
Oh gosh!
I thought you knew that, and then you started explaining it. I was like, oh wait, he might not. I could have sworn that you knew this.
Maybe one time you told me about it, and I just forgot. Look, think about the times we played Lego Harry Potter, and I forgot you were colorblind.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Get the blue.
Which
blue
one's
stud.
The blue one?
Which one's blue? That one.
Whoops.
To be fair, ladies and gentlemen, we did 100% Lego
Technically,
Harry
we 99.99%ed it.
No,
there was the glitch.
No, I know, but years 5 through 7, part 2
was 100%. But there was a glitch in part 1 through 4.
We had a glitch with our 1 through 4 where there was a boy in peril that we swear we rescued, and now he's stuck and we can never rescue him. And we tried everything to rescue him. He
just floats in midair for eternity.
So we're done. We can't do anything. Although, if anybody plays Lego Harry Potter, it's had the same issue. It's actually, you're missing this boy in peril. We just have no idea.
Please let us know.
Please send us a message. Because I'll go 100% it just for Ankit and my sake right now.
We'll live stream it. If that happens, we'll put it on.
Oh, yeah. So
we'll put it on YouTube.
So then, all the warden and mom and Mr. Sir are all talking about how they're going to get rid of all the records of Hector Zeroni. No one's going to miss him. And Stanley's like, I'll miss him. And he's really mad at all of them because they're basically like, Hector was never.
Yeah, they're pretty much just
that's
trying
what the adults are doing.
erase him from existing.
Then in the next scene, the boys all talk about how Zero's just gonna die. And that's also like really dark because.
Yep.
And then we cut to a story of how Stanley Yelnats the First survived in the same desert that Stanley Yelnats the Fourth is digging in
how
currently.
Convenient.
So Stanley Yelnats the First survived by finding God's thumb, but no one believed him. But that is how he met his wife. So he had a little bit of good luck because the nurse who nursed him back to health after him stuck being trapped there was Stanley Yelnats' the First wife, or our Stanley Yelnats' great grandmother.
Great
grandmother. Yeah.
No, it's two greats.
It'll be two greats. Well, no, because his great grandfather would be Stanley Yelnats the First.
No, it's one great. It's one great.
It's
one great. Because the pig stealing grandfather is great grandfather.
Yeah.
And then this is that one's kid. And so that is great grandpa.
Yeah. So then Stanley is still hoping for Zero to come back. He
keeps screaming into the desert, and I'm like, oh, this poor sweet summer child.
Is movie only. It's movie only, not in the book, but I mean, hey. In the book, we cut next to meeting our new camper. So when there's a spot opening up at this Camp Lakewood, what they don't explain in the film, they explain in the book, is as soon as there's a spot open, somebody always fills it. They never have a spot open for long.
Yeah, no, like a spot is open for like 3 days.
Like, even if that. I think Twitch was like on the wait list, like literally came in.
Yeah.
Like Zero ran away, like the next day's.
Like we need a new hole dug.
So we meet Twitch. Twitch is oh, by the way, they have to dig 7 holes as a group. So Stanley's been having to dig 2 holes a day until Twitch shows up. So he's been having to dig Zero's hole until Twitch showed up. Because no one else will help him dig.
Which fair enough. Fair enough.
So we meet Twitch. Twitch is there because he stole a car. He played some Grand Theft Auto in real life.
Dude, I love Twitch. Honestly, if I
Twitch
didn't,
is great. The actor who played Twitch does
if
really
I didn't
well.
play Zero, I would say that I would want to play Twitch. Because
I mean, it's really funny because Twitch is only in the film for like what?
He's
10 minutes?
Not even.
Like he's in like the one scene, and then I think he's in
the
end.
He has 2 scenes, and then he's in the end, and that is it. He never speaks to Zero a single time.
Yeah, so then while they're getting water, Stanley helps Twitch out of his hole and notices like the blisters that Twitch has because he's new, he doesn't know how to dig yet. And Stanley and Twitch go around to the car to steal it. So Twitch helps Stanley steal the car. Now in the book, Stanley just goes in the car without Twitch's help but he gets the idea.
He gets the idea from Twitch, but then Twitch in both the book and the movie has to go put it in drive.
Literally, put it in gear. So he puts it in gear in one of the most hilarious moments, and he starts driving the truck. He wants to drive the whole water truck to Zero because he thinks if I give him a lot of water, he'll survive. He messes
instantly.
up. And he drops. Mr. Sir like held out of the car and fell off the truck, which is film only, but I guess, they wanted to make it more hilarious. But he messes up instantly, looks behind, and then looks forward and messes up and drives the truck right into a hole. An airbag, and all the water just goes everywhere.
It's so good. And then you cut to John Voight's face and Mr. Sir just being like, my truck.
Yeah. And that, everyone, is where we're going to take a snack break. What's up, everyone? It's Stephen Nieman from Flip the Scripts. I hope you're enjoying Holes. Are you agreeing with us right now? Are you disagreeing with us right now? Post in the comment section down below. If you want to support us, please like, subscribe, and share. As a reminder, if we get to 100 subscribers before the end of the year, Ankit and I will be forced to do the Twilight franchise, a franchise we horribly do not want to do. If you want to support us financially, support our editor and Servellon and all of the things we want to do here on Co-op Forge, you can go to Patreon/Co-op Forge to support us financially. We are reforming our tiers as we speak. I hope if you want to meet us in real person or support us in real life, Ankit right now is playing Oliver in a production up in Seattle, and I am directing a show called The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals that'll take place in June. I hope you're enjoying the show. Now, back to the episode.
And we are back.
Yeah, so Stanley runs away.
Do you think?
Yeah, so Stanley runs away to go find Zero with an empty water bottle because he didn't have time to fill it up.
This is the gripe that I have, and I'm like, Stanley, you should have at least waited until Mr. Sir filled up your water bottle.
But he was always at the end of the line.
He was the second to last.
I think Twitch would have been moved up because of the whole Zero
Probably,
thing.
yeah, he probably did get moved up. Yeah,
Yeah.
Never mind.
So, and if he's at the end of the line, also he was gonna take the whole water truck with him. Remember?
That's a good
that
point.
Was the plan.
He didn't mean to.
And if he had the water truck with him, he could just fill up. Whatever.
Yeah, he didn't need to. Yeah. Okay, never mind. Cool. Continue.
And it's not like after he crashed, he could have been like, "Okay, let me fill my water up really quick and then run away."
Nah, that's exactly what he should have done.
Okay, so as he's running through the desert, he runs into a hole and he sees a bunch of yellow spotted lizards in the hole. One thing they explain in the book, it's a good visual version of a chapter in the book. So one of the chapters in the book is literally just them talking about how the spotted lizards use the holes as homes. And where they come from and how long they've been in that area and everything like that. But the spotted lizards, it's really interesting. They use the holes as homes, but the kids, the ones that freshly dig, do not have spotted lizards.
Mm-hmm.
So then we cut back to the warden, and this is not in the book, but the warden is like, we're gonna leave Zero and Stanley for dead, even though Stanley has parents that care for him.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's not in the book, but we probably assume
that's probably in the book.
Yeah. So, he's walking, and in the book, he finds God's thumbnail. So he sees the mountain. He's walking towards the mountain. And then he sees something in the corner of his eye and walks towards it. He doesn't know what it is, but he thinks it's water. It turns out not to be water, but a blue boat with Mary Lou on it. Because he thinks if he walks the mountain, he can find Zero. He actually, in the film, they just have him walk straight to the boat and find Zero.
Yeah, it's fine. I was not upset about this.
They just
streamlined it. They were like, do we really need the internal conflict? Do I go to the mountain? Do I go to the boat? No, just he needs to go to both. Send him to the both.
I like the little diagram that's in the chapter where they're going back, where it's like, oh no, you need to go left.
That was fun.
And
but again, for the movie, I get why you streamlined it. Perfectly fine.
No, I know. I get why that can be in the film because that's book. Like you're reading the book, you're like, oh, that's a cool little diagram because it's in the book. But it's like that'd be really hard to show in the film.
Also, the audience would be like, just go back to the camp. I don't care.
Yeah. So he runs into Zero, who's like under the boat, and Zero's alive. And Zero's like, hey, you mate, you're here.
You want some sploosh?
And they hug each other. You want some sploosh? And he's like, what's sploosh? So they eat sploosh, which is old peaches. Old Spice peaches. Now we know where those are from because we've been watching the movie and read the book. The Spice peaches are the Spice peaches from our good old friend Miss Catherine.
Yeah.
And that's Sam's boat because it says Mary Lou.
Oh, also, it was very sad, but they killed the donkey when they killed Sam.
Oh, yeah, they do. They do kill the donkey. Yeah.
What did the donkey do?
They kill the donkey in the book. Oh,
yeah.
Well. They killed
Mary Lou was just existing, just being a donkey.
They eat sploosh, and he's like, "Let's go back to camp." And
Zero's like, "I'm not going back."
And he's like, "Fine, let's at least go find water. Let's go to God's thumb." So he explains his grandfather's story to Zero. It's like, "Fine, we're gonna climb the mountain."
Well, we can just assume because in the film he doesn't actually explain it. He just goes, "Hey, what does that look like to you?" And then they both just stick up their thumb, and then they're walking to it. So you can just assume that this conversation has happened.
Yeah, but in the book, they actually have the conversation. Yeah, you're right. In the movie, they don't really have the conversation, do they?
We can assume that the conversation has happened.
Yeah. There was a funny line in them climbing the mountain that I want to say here because I think it's hilarious. And he's like, oh, I just imagine Mary Lou in a nice bikini. Yeah. And I'm like, a donkey in a bikini? Because the kids don't know. So at one point climbing the mountain, Zero, they use the shovel to get Stanley up the mountain, and Zero uses the blade of the shovel to hold down into the mountain, and Zero cuts his hands. I mean, they are shredded. In the book, I always feel like it's a lot worse. In the film, it still makes me go, ugh. But in the book, I always feel like it's a lot worse.
In the
cutting.
Film, they make it look like it is a planned thing from the beginning, whereas in the book,
Yeah.
it's more Stanley is slipping and losing his grip and like about to fall. So like the intensity is a little more, and that's mainly the difference.
So Zero then, as the boys are still walking, almost falls off the mountain as they're trying to get back to the thumb. Because Zero's super dehydrated.
He passes out.
Yeah, because if you don't know, everyone, peaches that have been canned, A, doesn't matter how some of them could not have been airtight as they were, so A, he could have been really sick from what he ate.
Yeah.
B, yes, from eating you do get some water, but no.
You need water.
Fluids. You need fluids, especially in the hot sun of a desert. So in the book, they leave everything, and Stanley picks him up. They even leave the shovel, picks him up, and carries him into the mountain, up to the mountain to God's thumb. And but in the film, he used the shovel as a walking stick as they walk up to God's thumb.
Yeah, I didn't mind this. I looked at it as because like in the book later, they go back and they get it, and they get the shovel and they get everything again. So like I was like, okay, fine. You're streamlining it. We can cut a little bit of that. That's okay.
Yeah. Eventually, they find in the book, so eventually he started getting eaten by bugs, and they find a creek with water. Now, this is film only, that there's a freshwater creek on top of the mountain.
It's not
in
really
the
a
book,
creek. It's more like a swampish thing.
Yeah, but in the book, it's mud, and he digs until he finds fresh water.
Yeah, I mean, even here, the fresh water isn't like, if you look at any of the water, it's all dirty.
No, it's dirty water, but the water that's underground is better quality than the water that's above.
Yeah.
So, but they don't have him dig in the swamp area.
They don't have him dig in the movie. They just let him drink the dirty water, and I'm like, alright.
Yeah, they just drink the dirty water. So they find a small creek with water. They also find the onions of the onion field, and they start to eat them, and that's how they're gonna survive.
It's really fun. I really like that they find Sam's secret onion field.
Yeah. Then he also sings the song of Madame Zeroni, and it ends.
Can we also just appreciate Sam, who every day would climb this mountain to go freshly pick his onions?
Well, no, he wouldn't climb the mountain because the lake was probably as tall as the mountain.
I don't think the lake was that high.
Yeah, so I mean, the way they explain it in the book, I think the lake went all the way to the basin. So I think he does have to.
He has to climb a bit. Maybe not all of it, but yeah.
But he also had a donkey, and donkeys are really good.
Mary Lou was also 50.
We don't know that. That could have been his. Remember, Mary Lou had a lot of onions. So
Mary Lou would live forever.
Yeah, we'll live forever.
In my heart.
In my heart.
Love you.
I have one issue with this scene, and I wish they kept it. In the book, Zero recognizes the song that's.
And this is where I was saying it would have been lovely if he's like, "Hey, I recognize that tune, but with different words," and sang the Latvian.
Exactly.
So
you want to explain it?
You can explain it.
Go for it. So basically, when the Zeronis have passed down the same song, just like the Yelnats is, but they both have two different English translations because Latvian English is hard.
It is Latvian, right? I'm not missing. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I like the fact that Zero knew. I
do too.
They cut that from the film completely. Zero doesn't even have the song. The movie ends. The book ends with the song from Zero. Zero's mom is singing the song at the end of the movie, end of the book, and it's not. It doesn't. The movie doesn't end with the song. So it's just okay. So it's fine. we cut to the dad. Now, this is not in the book at all. We cut to Stanley Yelnats III, and he gets lucky. They talk about inventing, how you need 3 things to be a successful inventor. You need A, to be smart, B, to have time, and C, to get really
And
lucky.
he had A and B, but never C.
And he finally got lucky. He discovered how to get rid of the odor of shoes with peaches and onion.
One thing that I will say is us seeing this scene though is still lovely, because in the book, we get told this by the narrator at a later point in the book.
Oh, also by the lawyer. You kind of connect dots with the lawyer.
No. But that's what I'm saying. Like, the narrator tells us that, like, it was that night or, like, the next morning that, like, Dad got lucky.
Yeah.
That Stanley Yelnats III got lucky. And, like, the narrator tells us
Stanley Yelnats IV broke the family curse. And so that way everyone could have luck again. And they don't smell anything. And they start to dance around the house. They don't smell anything. They don't smell anything.
I don't smell anything. Oh, it's so good.
I feel like the landlord will finally be happy.
No, he won't. No, he won't.
He won't. No. So Zero, we cut back to Zero and Stanley. Zero was trying to tell him something before he passed out, but Zero finally tells Stanley how he's the one who stole the shoes. So we finally get the whole story about how Zero stole the shoes at the homeless shelter, put them on, walked out of the shelter. In the movie, they were just sitting on a table, which I'm like, why would you just have them sitting on a table? Is that your complaint? But, like, in the film, they're supposed to be, like, in a glass case.
My complaint has to do with something that's coming
up. Okay, so in the book, they're supposed to be, like, in a glass case, but, like, apparently not? Okay, so they weren't really protected. So it makes sense that Hector just walked out with them.
Right.
So Hector walks out with them, obviously, then he throws them, and Stanley gets hit with them. And then Hector's like, yeah, I got kicked the next day trying to steal my own shoes at Payless.
Oh, Payless. What a lovely store that I don't even know how they're doing.
They don't exist anymore.
I didn't think so.
I haven't seen a Payless in years.
Yeah. Let's see. What happened to Payless shoe stores?
They all closed. I feel like they went with Kmart.
Ooh, they might have gone with Kmart. Yeah, Payless shoe stores are officially closed. At least the one in Issaquah's permanently closed.
Yeah, none of them in Lancaster.
Yeah. Okay, but like, it's true though. And I was looking to buy a cord for something, and I was like, great, it's $15. And then I went to the local music store, and I was like, how much is it? And it was $40, and I was like, okay.
That's why Amazon's cheaper.
Okay, I guess I'll go to Amazon. Now I have to record the cord, though. Return the cord and get a different one. Because it's the right thing, but not the right length. And I need a longer one.
So,
back to the movie.
Stanley's like, nah, man, it's destiny that we both ended up at Cap Green Lake. And he's like, I don't care. I forgive you. Like, he's like, no harsh foul. Which is the same. Like, those two are so close now that even him learning the truth about Zero, like, doesn't hurt.
Yeah, and, like, also what we hear more in the book, because we can hear more of Stanley's inner monologue in the book through the narrator, is that it's like, you know, he didn't really like himself before he went to Camp Green Lake, and now he likes himself. And so he's like, you know what? At the end of the day, I can't really be mad at Zero because I feel better about myself.
And that's what this book is about. It's a coming of age. It's him discovering how you can accept yourself. So then we cut back to the camp, and Stanley's lawyer shows up, and I love Twitch going, is it a Jaguar?
Yeah, it's
Jaguar. It's a Jaguar car. He's like a Jaguar. He doesn't say anything but the car name, and he's like, everyone else is like, oh, a car, and he's like, no, I know what a car it is.
Oh,
yeah. So the lawyer goes in and like yells at the warden and everyone.
What type of institution are you running around here?
Exactly. She's all mad because they can't find Stanley. They don't tell her that Stanley's lost. They're like, Stanley just can't come right now. He's sick. He's in the like they give her a bullshit.
Yeah.
She leaves all mad. She's gonna come back, and they're like, "What are we gonna do? She's gonna be back." And she's like, "Well, we'll just say Stanley ran away." But after he's been released, he runs away.
I love Podansky.
She's like, I'm like, we're just gonna not do anything, and then she leaves. And then Sir says the same thing. He's like, "What aren't we gonna do?" And I went, They're not gonna do shit.
No.
Polanski.
What they actually say though is, "You're gonna do as I say," and then she leaves, and then Polanski's like, "She didn't say anything," and then Mr. Sir's just like, "Well, you're gonna do what I say," and then he leaves, and Polanski's just like, "But you didn't say anything either."
Exactly.
I feel so bad for Polanski in this moment, just like, guys.
So Stanley and Zero are talking, and Stanley's like, "I feel lucky," which obviously, like, we know because the curse is broken, he can feel lucky.
Luck is an option.
And they decide to go back for kissing Kate Barlow's treasure. Now, this is all book accurate. The scene with the lawyer, that is, we could assume it happened in the book. We just don't see it or read about it. Because we're more focused on
And I like
Stanley
the addition
Zero
of it in the movie. It gives a little bit of something else of like, ooh, there is still some tension happening. Like,
so now we go to the end of Kissing Kate Barlow. The death of Kissing Kate Barlow, I should say. So this is where they made a change. I don't know if a change. So Kissing Kate Barlow, so the cabin that the warden stays in was Kissing Kate Barlow's cabin. And I like the fact that that's her cabin and that she lives in it now. And I love the fact that she's connected to the camp compared to dying in front of a boat, of Mary Lou boat.
I don't mind her dying in front of Mary Lou's boat. I just wish that there was a way to tell us that it was her cabin.
Yeah, so in the book, she's in the cabin, and they show up again. The two, it's Mr. Walker and his new wife, who used to be a student that she taught. And they're like, "We have no money. Give us all your money." And she's like, "No." And then they're like, "You're gonna have to dig holes." And then she gets bit by a yellow lizard, and that's how she dies. It's a lot more dramatic in the film.
It's a lot more dramatic, yeah.
She's like sitting in front of the boat. She's like, "I want to die. I miss you, Sam." And like she grabs the lizard and like makes it bite her, and then she dies.
I like both versions. I think
I have an issue with the movie version though. Okay, if she died in front of the boat, where's her skeleton?
Yeah, but keep in mind that she died out in the wilderness, and her body wasn't buried.
Her skeleton might still be there. I mean,
I'm like, maybe her body was buried because we don't get told. Because in the same vein, it's like, what happened to her body when she got bit by the lizard in the book? Because it wasn't in her cabin.
Yeah. Also, the lizard's deaths aren't instant like they make it seem in the movie. In the book, we're told again and again, if you get bit by a yellow spotted lizard, you'll suffer the most painful death imaginable.
It's a slow, painful death.
But in the movie, it's instant.
That's fine. I'm okay with that.
No, because it's right in the book.
Yeah, but we gotta expedite some of these deaths that we need to see on screen.
Whatever. Okay, so the boys then sneak back into the camp, and they go right for the hole that they found the lipstick. There's no waiting. They're just they're there. There's no...
Stanley's like, I know where we're going.
Stanley does know where they're going, but I like how when they got back, it was still sun. They had to wait for everybody to go in before they hopped in the hole because somebody was taking a long time to finish their hole. And I want to imagine that was Twitch because it never explains who it is.
Yeah, it was probably Twitch.
Twitch has been there the least amount of time. So Zero then's like, I would get another shovel because you suck at digging.
Because you're slow.
Another shovel. Yeah. So Zero runs to go get another shovel. He runs into Mom and Mr. Sir fighting over a broken truck. This is film only, but so not in the book at all.
So good.
But it is funny because they're like, how could you let them kids steal your truck? You're stupid.
I do love Polanski going, "You are at a camp of juvenile delinquents. What did you think was gonna happen?"
Don't you throw something at me. So then Zero comes back and they start digging wider to find the chest because he's like, I don't think you would have dug the treasure that
another thing that I noticed. Why in the world does this hole now have stairs leading into it?
No way. You saw there were stairs
leading into this hole.
because it was probably for safety standards and they just had a bad angle on the shot.
And so in some of the shots, you can see a set of stairs.
I realized that you can, yeah.
And so the hole has a set of stairs.
Is this
No,
your
this
complaint?
still is not my complaint.
Wow. Okay. So they start digging into the sides and they find the chest and they take the chest out. And then the lizards come out as mom,
the
and
warden, and
Mr.
Mr.
Sir
Servellon
and Warden find them and they're like, ah, and they're like, we can't get you because the yellow spotted lizards. And she's like, shoot them. She's like, no, we'll have the lizards. The boys are the lizards.
I
Also,
like
I really
that
love.
line.
I miss this part though, cause so like when Podansky found them covered in lizards, yellow spotted lizards, he has like a little bit of feigning spell and a scream in the book that I think would have been hilarious. That I'm like, oh, you missed the chance for that funny comedy moment.
It would have been good, but we've had a lot of comedy. I understand we needed this moment to be drama.
So the yellow spotted lizards came out when the case all boys. They're not biting them. So everyone's like, why aren't they biting them?
Because they ate the onions.
Yes, exactly. So they stay in the hole with the lizards and they won't be bitten. So before that, though, we go back in time as as the warden explains that her grandfather made her dig holes all her life to try to find this treasure. And we go back in time, and she's like, "I'm tired of digging, Grandpa. That's too damn bad. You're gonna keep digging."
And it's in.
Oh, also that's a meme, by the way. That's too damn bad. I love that meme.
Oh, that's too damn bad.
They've memed the grandpa now.
Beautiful. But yeah, I agree, and I think it's really cool that the warden is Walker's granddaughter.
Yeah, it's really well done. Really good connection. I think just as if it would have been cool if Sam was related to the Zeronis in some way.
Yeah, like I think every character is connected.
Yeah, so they stay in the hole with the lizard. Then the lawyer shows up. So they've been in the hole for
a few hours.
Probably like 12 hours. I want to say they got there around 10.
Well,
probably,
if you say that like they start digging, let's say at 10, right?
Yeah, they've been in the hole since next morning, so probably 8 hours.
Well, now it's like 4:35, because
the sun's
the sun's out. So you can say 7. Yeah,
7-ish,
and
maybe?
You can say that they probably found the treasure maybe around like 2 in the morning. Maybe well, I don't think they found it that quickly. I feel like they waited a while, but they've been in. Look, the end of the day, they've been in it a long time.
Yeah. So the lawyer's there, and she's like, "Go tell the campers to stay inside no matter what, or we'll punish them." And they're not digging today. And mom's like, "Yeah," and then mom falls off.
Fantastic, mom.
I thought it was hilarious. And then Mr. Sir tries to stop the lawyer from walking out, see them covered in lizards, but doesn't really.
No.
And the warden's like, they went into my room and stole a chest, and then they ran into a hole and got covered in lizards. So she's made up this whole story.
Excuse me?
And then finally they just walk out, and, the lizards don't attack them. Then, Stanley's like, I didn't steal anything. And then Zero also comes out, and she goes to steal the chest from him. And Zero's like, no, it has his name on it. She's like, what? It's a Stanley Yelnats. Because it belonged to Stanley's great-grandfather. It's the same chest that was stolen so long ago.
So good. So good. Incredible. This still is not my complaint, but it is connected to this. But I will get to my complaint soon.
So then the lawyer's like, well, it belongs to Stanley. He's going to keep it. So now we're in front of the camp, and Stanley and Zero are alive, and everyone's like, yeah, Stanley. Everyone goes to hug him. X-Ray even hugs him, and I'm like, oh, that's new. So in the book, X-Ray's a bit aloof at the end. It's kind of interesting. X-Ray acknowledges Stanley from like across the way, like a cool guy, but then everyone else is like really happy to see Stanley. So it's, but I get it. Like when the film, all the boys go to do it, so might as well just have all the boys.
Yeah, let all the boys be the boys.
Yeah. So then Stanley's like, I won't leave without Hector, and the lawyer's like, well, give me Hector Zeroni's file. And they're like,
we have lost the file of Hector Zeroni.
Exactly. So they lost the file of Hector Zeroni, and like, what kind of camp are you running here? This is ridiculous. Like the guy is like, I'm gonna call
I
someone.
love the warden going, a nice one if the government would just give us some funding from now and time again.
Also, Mr. Sir is trying to hide from the police officers this entire scene.
This is a fun one. It's not part of the book. Incredible, though.
This isn't in the book at all. So then Armpit comes over and he asks Stanley, hey, I know you're leaving, but please call my mom. That's part of it. And he's like, Theodore, tell her Theodore misses her.
Tell Theodore says I'm sorry. Like,
yeah. And then they get the pen from Mr. Sir and a pencil and paper. And Mr. Sir gets revealed. It turns out he was a fugitive. He's not on the run, but he's not supposed to have a gun.
Holding that firearm is a violation of your parole, Marion.
And he got arrested. His name is Marion. And they're like, I thought that was a woman's name. And he goes, so Mr. Sir gets arrested. And then he's like, you know, he's like, I didn't know he was a criminal. He's like, yes, you did. You even know Mr. Predansky's not really even a doctor.
Ooh.
So
Sir's like, if I'm going down, you're going down with me.
Yeah. Then the warden, Predansky, and Mr. Sir all get arrested. Hector gets to go with them. Hector gets to leave
with Stanley.
Everybody. And then it starts to rain in the camp, and everyone starts to jump and dance in the rain because finally the curse is broken. I imagine it was also part of the Walkers, you know, because like the Mary, Kiz and Kate cursed the Walkers.
Yeah.
So like there's two curses in this movie if you're paying attention. The first curse is the curse of Stanley Yelnats, which by the Zeroni family. And the second curse is on the Walker family by Kiss and Kate.
And I think there's an unsaid third one, which is them killing Sam unjustly. And that's why
that's part of why the lake
That's why
away,
it doesn't rain. Because Kate's curse is technically finding the treasure and digging the holes. Right?
True.
Whereas I think the rain is just like Mother Earth is just like, well, you messed up, and now you're gonna be punished for 110 years.
So all the boys say goodbye. Then the warden tries to see the treasure. She's like, I've been waiting all my life to see this, and Stanley's like,
excuse me?
No. Excuse me, and closes it, and then they leave. And so Stanley and Zero leave. And that is almost the end of the book, usually. But we have more scenes that are not in the book, and we're going to keep going. So there is one more chapter, only one chapter left in the book. And the chapter actually cuts ahead in the future. And one of the first lines of the chapter is, there are going to be many holes between this and that, but you can fill them in yourselves.
Yeah, and
so it leaves a lot to the imagination.
The movie also does that, because the only things that the movie is showing us is things that the book tells us.
Yeah, so we cut back to them opening the treasure chest. So now, by the way, are we getting to anywhere near you're at? Because we're almost at the end.
Yeah. Keep talking.
Okay, so they go to open the treasure chest with Stanley Yelnats, the third, the second, his mom, and Zero's there too. And he's like, we need to share with Zero. And everyone's like, okay, we'll share with Zero. And it's like, and they're like, Hector Zeroni. And they're like, ooh, Zeroni. Ooh, yeah. Stanley Yelnats the second is really happy it's Zeroni.
He's like, welcome.
And then, he's like, my bush bohim, you know, because apparently the Yelnatses are Jewish.
Yep, apparently.
Made me feel good as a kid. They opened it up, and there's a lot more treasure in the treasure chest than there was in the book.
This is where I have a problem. I wanted this to be revealed before I pointed out my problem.
Oh, okay. So I will explain what's in the treasure chest in the book, and then what's in the treasure chest in the film, and then I will let you have your time.
Sure.
So in the book, there are a few bank papers and some money here or there, but it basically totals under $1 million for both him and him.
Yeah, just under $1 million each.
Compared to the movie where they're like cajillionaires.
Oh, they got all the money.
It's a bunch of jewels and everything and a bunch of bank things, and they're basically worth millions and millions of dollars. Also, apparently, Stanley knows compound interest, because when they asked him, this is from this era, how much money do you think that's worth now? Oh, $1 million. Oh, good, because you could do compound interest in your head. Stanley Yelnats,
yes.
the middle schooler. Or go for it. Go for your complaints.
She packed everything so neatly into that treasure chest, but left a freaking lipstick tube out. What the hell? The lipstick tube is the only thing that is not in the chest. It is the only item, and the only justification I can think of is it fell out of her pocket. But why is it feet into the ground if it fell out of her pocket? And also, how big of a hole was she digging to where Stanley was digging a 5-foot in diameter hole and found it in that hole? He still had to dig more of a diameter to find this chest, which means that she buried the chest and then buried her lipstick. She can't have dropped it in the same hole unless the hole was like the size of like a 10 by 20 yard thing. Like, it's not possible.
So I thought the lipstick was buried because she wanted to be able to find her hole. So she knew she found her lipstick, she could find her hole.
The treasure chest is bigger than the lipstick. What is that concept?
Maybe this makes more sense.
Steven, based on what you just said, the logic that you have just told me is, I need to find my guitar case. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave this tiny guitar pick out in the middle of the woods to go find my guitar case.
Well, to be fair, the lipstick was higher in elevation than the chest,
but it was so much further away.
It was in that 5 feet.
It was not in the. I don't think it was in the 5 feet.
No. The chest was like 2 feet away from where it probably found.
But he finished that hole.
Yes.
He finished that hole. The entire hole is still 5 feet, and you're still another 2 feet away.
I don't know.
Far away.
That's also in the book too. That's in the book too. That's your complaint about the book too.
That's my complaint about this story. It's my one and only complaint about this story is the lipstick doesn't make sense.
Okay. So they find Hector's mom. So Hector Zeroni uses his money. He says it in the book, but they just show it in the film. To find his mom, he hires private investigators. He finds his mom. Yay. And they also, we skip ahead, and now it's a pool party. Hector and him are neighbors, and everyone's at the pool party. Even the kids from the camp are at the pool party. Zigzag and all of them are there. I don't think Zigzag's there, actually. I didn't see him in the tank.
I think he's there.
I thought Armpit. I remember Armpit being there. I'm pretty sure
all the boys were there.
Yeah. So I did love the fact that they're all there at the pool party. That's not in the book. That's totally like an added.
Yeah, but it's fun.
But they're like, we have the boys. Might as well get them in the ending. Then they do the commercial, which is also in the book about Sploosh, which is the shoe order, with the baseball player that had the shoes stolen from him. So now he's friends with Stanley. And that is the end of the movie. That is literally the end. That's it. Stanley and Hector live happily ever after as two rich people living next to each other for all their days. Oh, and the camp will no longer be a camp. It will be turned into a ghost
Which is why I think that the new Holes reboot, where they are gender bending it, is a mistake. Don't redo Holes. Tell us a new story. And I saw a comment, and I told you about this too. Like, the comment says that the book and the movie both end saying that it's being turned into a Girl Scout camp. Turn it into that. Tell us a new story. And also, there is a sequel to Holes. There is a sequel. It is not as well received. But there is technically a sequel to Holes.
What is it called?
The sequel. So 2 companion novels have followed. Holes, Stanley Yelnats' survival guide to Camp Green Lake. And then you have Small Steps. So Small Steps is the new one. And in the sequel, a former camper, it follows Armpit, who is 17, struggling with the challenges facing an African-American teenager with a criminal history.
Oh.
X-Ray shows up in that one as well.
I like Armpit and X-Ray.
So it's not like a direct thing, but it's like you don't need to change something that personally, and we're about to go into rating it, I think has been very well adapted and like is just a strong story. And there's something about it being a group of boys in that story.
All right. So Ankit, let's get to the rating. So, what would you rate the movie as not as an adaptation, just
Like
the
an 8.5.
movie?
I really like this film. It's really fun. I really
Yeah, I
enjoyed
would
it.
say if I was a kid still, it'd be a total 9.
If I
Like
was a
high
kid,
up,
this is probably
I'd
like a
say
9.5/10.
yeah. As an adult, I'd give it a good 8. I think some of the acting is really
Yeah.
really good. I really enjoy the storytelling. I like the way I like some of the backstory moments. I think it's
Eight and a
really
half,
really
yeah.
good.
I think it's a
Uh,
really solid film. Like very good.
what would you rate it as a
Probably
book? What would you rate
probably
the
like
book?
a 7.5, 8.
I like the book. I would rate it as an 8. I think the book is really interesting. Sometimes the book, like the chapters, like the way he does chapters are a bit weird for me, where it's like some chapters are literally like a
Yeah, yeah,
page,
yeah, yeah.
and then your next chapter will be like 10 pages, and it's like eh, it's a bit weird. But also I also like it's weird because he also will tell the 3 stories, it feels like, without the book. So sometimes the book to me loses a little focus. But also I liked
I
it,
liked
so it
it.
was really
I
fun to
I
read.
mean,
So
yeah, it's probably like an 8 to me. It's a very solid book. In my opinion, probably like one of the better books in terms of dealing with issues for kids.
hmm
Like it's a really good way to start bringing up racial discussions and
oh
bringing
yeah.
that stuff up, and like it does it in a way where the story is still engaging but you're still able to have discussions about it, things like that. So I think it's a very good book, and I hope that it stays on required reading lists for a while,
Hmm.
because unlike when I got to high school where I just started not enjoying the books that I was reading, and like I was like, yeah, it's a classic, but like I it's not an interesting read.
Great Gatsby.
Yeah, it's not an interesting read in high school. I think it's an interesting read now when you're an adult and like, you've processed more, like you've lived more life, you've experienced more. So I think Great Gatsby is an example where why did it work so well for the soldiers in World War II? It worked so well because they had all gone out and experienced life. That's why they connected to that book.
Oh yeah.
Whereas a
What
16-year-old
what
can't.
would you rate what would you rate the
10 out of
adaptation,
10.
sir? Wow,
I don't
perfect
think we are
score.
getting a better adaptation than this, to the point where the things that they changed, right? Like what have they changed? They changed uh Kate's death scene, and that's the
Uh-huh.
only thing that they like drastically changed. And I guess Kate and how they technically ended Sam's life, where she wasn't in the boat with him. Other than that, they didn't really change a whole lot. They had to retcon a few things because we don't have the access of a narrator in a movie. In the
Mm.
movie, we don't have our narrator, and so they had to retcon how they and how they tell us a few things. So like that's why you get the addition of Stanley Yelnats the second in the movie, because he takes on that form of the narrator to start telling us that
Yeah.
story. Uh,
I would give it a 9.5. I think it's a very strong adaptation, but I always think there's always
I
room for
don't, because
improvement.
here's the thing, Steven. Because if we never give anything a 10, then we are saying that nothing is ever good enough. And I don't think that's the truth. And I think
Okay.
I think we
I
should be
I also
allowed to give a
I
10, but giving sparingly. And this is the first one that I'm willing to give a 10. I don't think we're getting anything that is a 1-for-1 exact replica. This is the closest you're probably going to get.
That's fine. I still think a 9.5. I think it's a very high sought after thing. I think it's still an A adaptation. I think it does a very good job. I just think there's a few things they could have done a
That's
little
fair.
different.
What could they have done different to make it a 10?
Hmm. I'll have to think
Mhm.
about that. But I'm gonna give it a 9.5.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I'm gonna
You got to
think about
think
it.
about
But
it, and I'm
I think
putting this on you. You got to record something of your thoughts and put it on the Patreon.
no, I could say it now. I mean, I think for me, what would have made this movie even more of a 10? I think the weight thing for me is a big one
Okay.
because I think the weight journey of Stanley Yelnats is very important to the book. It's actually almost integral to the book. And I like I said, I understand the change. I can respect the change. It still is a change.
It's a change.
And I think that's the major change for me. I think the changing where Kissing Kate Barlow dies, still she dies the same way. I can overlook that almost. But for me, the weight loss thing, him coming in as a fat kid and actually, the bullying, having experienced that in life and like that whole transition of that character, I just feel like that was a part of his character that I think was very integral to the storytelling. And that, to me, that's why it loses 0.5.
Lovely. That's all I wanted. I just wanted justification of why.
I had to think about it. So I gave me a little bit of time.
Lovely.
But that's why, to me, it's not a perfect 10 out of 10. If they gave Shia LaBeouf a fat suit and magically managed to do it, and all of a sudden he became skinny halfway through the film, I would have been okay with it. I actually think that was the original plan in the documentary. They were going to give him a fat suit, but it looks so ridiculous on him. They cut it.
You know what? Fair enough.
Fat suit on a kid.
It does look ridiculous.
All right, so that is the end of our adaptation conversation about Holes. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Comment in the comment section.
What are your ratings? Let us know.
Yeah. So next week we are taking on a classic. We are going down the rabbit hole with The Lovely Bones.
That's the name of the book. Yeah.
It's called The Lovely Bones.
Yeah. I know nothing about this, so I'll see you guys next week when we're talking about it.
So I've read the book before. I've never seen the movie, so it'll be really fun to read the book and watch the movie.
Wonderful. We'll be sure.
Stanley Tucci is in the movie.
Join us next week for Stanley Tucci and The Lovely Bones. But until then, thanks
Stanley
everyone. Steven, stop giving stuff away. We got to end the episode.
I don't
know anything about the story. Don't tell me anything yet. Haven't read it. Bye, everybody.
All right, bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Flip the Scripts. Flip the Scripts is created, hosted, and produced by Ankit Madhira and Stephen Nieman. Our editor is Ant Servellon. The art is by Shakti Madhira, and the music is by Sebastian Holich. If you would like to support the show, you can do so by heading over to patreon.com/co-op so that's patreon.com/co_opforge. Sign up for any of the tiers and you get access to various types of bonus content, and it really does help us out a lot of not being in the red while making these episodes for you all. If you want to help out the show in a non-monetary way, that is great as well. You can talk about us on social media. Follow us on social media at co-opforge, co_opforge on all the various social media platforms. And you can also follow the show directly, Flip the Scripts Pod on Instagram. Be sure to talk about us on social media. It helps us out a lot. Thank you to anyone who has done this already or will do this in the future. Last but not least, if you still want to help out the show, word of mouth is a great way to help support the show and grow the show. Tell a friend, tell a family member about the show. There are two guys and they read books and then they go in, they watch the movie, they watch the TV show, they figure out, is it a faithful adaptation or is it just a fun movie but maybe not a faithful adaptation? That's also a possibility. If it's a show that you think they might enjoy, please do recommend it to them. It helps us out a lot. But we are just really thankful that you have tuned in for this episode of Flip the Scripts, and we hope you join us next week for even more tomfoolery. And until then, we'll see y'all later. Bye.